Yeah, hi there, Sammy. This is Michael. I'm the founder materials writer of the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT. Also, I am the instructor who created better TOEFL scores. So thank you for your contact over the last few weeks here. Looks like you're keeping busy. So you found an article on the internet through EnglishForum.net. That is a huge website. If I remember correctly, it has like 55,000 subscribers. Very big. So the topic was the following. You say, some people think that children should be brought up in the villages because of the good environment. Meanwhile, some people think the young children should be brought up in cities. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So you say, I read the essay and I found it quite good. However, she did not decide whether she prefers to live in the countryside or in a village. She argued for both. I was wondering if it is allowed to not take a clear position regarding a certain task. I mean to be neither with something nor with the other thing. Actually, that may seem confusing, but it's a good style of writing if you do not favor something over another thing. Plus, the girl did not write a sharpened, or I think you want to say sharply focused thesis statement. And you also say, I think that it is a major mistake she has done. And yeah, I recalled what I wanted to say. Do they take grades off if I use short forms of words? It is, it's, I am, you know what I mean? I remember in English 101, my teacher told me not to use it in formal speech or academic essays. So let's go to the second question first. You're asking me, can you use contractions during writing? And typically with formal writing, it's probably better not to, because it does make it less formal. But for TOEFL, I would hope, I don't know for sure on this, but I don't think they're going to score you lower because you're using contractions. Now, you definitely don't want to use shortened forms of things. For example, if you say, I am going to, don't say, I'm gonna. And you spell it Gonna. Now, that's way, way too informal for any writing, even TOEFL. So if you're using contractions, personally, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it on the TOEFL. I wouldn't do it for academic writing in general. But I don't think you will score lower because of that. Remember that what they're looking for, the IBT human raters who evaluate your grammar and your writing, they're making sure that the mistakes you're making are minor and they're not interfering in your ability to be understood. They also want to see if you're using a combination of both basic and complex type grammar. It means you're not writing with just short, simple sentences with just one subject and one verb. It means that you're also combining some of your shorter sentences and you're using connectors, things like which and that and who and because and although and even though and if and even if, unless, those kinds of words. So I wouldn't worry too much about the contractions. Now let's go back to the question. I think with TOEFL writing, with the essay exam, with the independent and integrated writing task, you need to organize your writing based on what the prompt is. Now, I don't think that this question you're giving me is a good question for TOEFL writing. Because it says, to what extent do you agree or disagree? To what extent means that you may agree, you may disagree. It kind of means that you might not have a clear position one way or the other. It may be mixed. You may agree and disagree. So the student's essay that you read, I'm not sure. I don't think it was probably as bad as you think it is. Because look at the question again. What if I said this? Meanwhile, some people think the young children should be brought up in cities. Now, a lot of times on the TOEFL it says this, discuss both positions, then indicate which position you agree with and why. Now, if you say indicate which position you agree with and why, it's actually better for you to choose a clear position. And it's probably better, I'm not saying you have to, but I'm agreeing with you a little bit here. Sammy, because you have to ask yourself, what is reasonable? What can I do if I'm doing a TOEFL IBT writing task and I only have 30 minutes to answer that question? Is it possible for you to agree and disagree, to discuss agreement and disagreement with both of these ideas? In 30 minutes, you probably cannot do that. So then what is the strategy here? The strategy in 30 minutes, personally, I would clearly pick one position over the other. And I would maybe argue against the position I don't like. I'd put that first. So I would say villages, you mean small towns, right? So I might say, personally, I think that children should be brought up in small towns. That's my own. And I disagree they should be brought up in larger cities, right? So I might present why I disagree with the larger city idea first, and then I'll discuss my own agreement with children being brought up in smaller towns or villages. So it's kind of a tough... I don't think it's a good question for TOEFL writing because it's too complicated. It requires too much, to do too much analysis, to discuss the two positions and explain to what extent you agree with each position. And it's hard to do all of that in 30 minutes. Does that make sense? Anyway, thank you for contacting me, and keep up the good work.